everyone, it's really sunny today. In today's video, I'll be taking you on a little tour of my folio I did for Viscom that helped me achieve a raw 50. So unlike other subjects, your folio comprises of 40% of your study score, which is quite a lot compared to other subjects where your exam is worth the majority of your score. So in this video, I'll be taking you through my school assessed task of the mini folio, as well as the larger folio which I did for the remainder of the year. As a little tip, I do recommend, if you are doing Viscom next year in 2024, to have a little think about what you want to do for your final project. So it is a SAT, so school assessed task work, therefore you will spend basically the whole year doing it. For me, I originally had a little bit of struggle thinking of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do an album cover and a headset design for a K-pop group. But then I thought about it a bit more. So I wrote the brief, really thorough and detailed, but then I had to think about it and I was like, I don't think I have the time to put as much detail in this. So instead, I opted for a communication and an industrial design where I designed packaging for a tea brand that I created, as well as a style guide. For VCE, it is encouraged to do 2 items from different design fields such as environmental, industrial or communication. I think it was a bit strategic for me how I chose communication and industrial compared to my other peers who did environmental. If I did have the time, I think I may have done environmental, but during the class time they spent a lot of time building like their physical models, doing a little floor plan which was a lot more technical compared to communication design. Also with industrial, if you don't have the resources at home such as your balsa wood, your acetate and all your tape, it is a bit hard to do that at home compared to communication design where you're able to use like Adobe or Illustrator at home. So this video I will show you my folios and I'll do a little flick through and maybe a bit of commentary, tell you a few tips along the way. This is my Unit 1-2 folio. I don't think you want to see it all, but here's a little skim of what I did. I think in Unit 1-2 you don't have to take it seriously, but they do teach you all the drawing conventions and thinking processes that can really help you in Unit 3-4. So I try to include lots of like sketches, freehand drawing, as well as making it nice and clean with appropriate headers, sourcing images and rendering as well. This is a use of SketchUp, which can be quite helpful if you're doing environmental design. Lots of brainstorms and showing your design process. So this was the start of new projects, lots of visualization, generation of ideas, annotations. Make sure you source your photos, so you include the link, the title and the date where you accessed it. I'll just quickly skim through this. And I found a really good tip was to try to incorporate a different mixed material. So these were physical copies and then these were digital. So it's really good to have a mix of textures and variety. Obviously you don't have to try this hardball one too. It's not worth anything to your study score, but for me, I found that I really like design and I was the yearbook editor, so I really like doing this in my spare time. I try to add a lot of like physical, playful elements to my folio to make it really interactive. A lot of the stuff is just like scrap paper I used as the backgrounds. This one, yep. So that's my Unit 1-2 folio. Bro, look how thick it is. Anyways, so in 1-2 I used the manually like binded folio. However, in 3-4, I originally started with one of these folios, but then realized it looks a bit more professional and it's easier to organize when you have it in a folder. You can get these from Officeworks for around $10 to $15. Quite useful as you can rearrange sheets of paper to how you would like. So this task was redesigning a room that we had near our school, and we got to use our creative control to design it however we wanted. This was a little bit of introduction, and then you have to write your brief. So the brief involves the client need, audience characteristics, and outlining your purposes and your context. Don't have to use overly complicated words, the less is better. I liked to make title pages. This was just a personal thing of mine. So this was research into the client, a draft of the brief, photos of the area, a mind map for initial generation, and then we did some visualization sketch drawings. So we visited the actual site and sat there and drew the area as a class. Some more mind mapping and aesthetic generation. And then we did research, so online digital images, make sure you source them, and then a lot of sketches. I used different types of material, and this was my industrial side. It was an orthogonal, including the perspective. This looks like a slab of meat. I'm so sorry, that is really ugly. But I didn't know how to render that. So this was at the beginning of the year. So a few presentation drawings, and then we have our communication. So I designed a window frame. So research, generation, developing, and the final project. I actually put, it's a bit ugly, but like, you gotta do what you gotta do. I find that in Viscom, it doesn't have to look amazing to score well. You just really need to follow the design process and what is outlined in the study design. And I really recommend to do things at home in chunks. So Viscom is a subject where you can't really spend 20 minutes and see a lot of progress. Like for example, this one page or these 2 pages would have taken a couple of hours altogether. So really organize your time well to set aside time for your folio. Alright, onto our SAT. So I used a total of 3 folios for 3-4. So we had to write our brief. This one is a little bit more detailed to the one you just saw. You get it signed by your teacher. This is my mind mapping for the brand identity. And then I did a few like little case studies on skincare brands and used physical like wrapping. And I also used secondary research. So a mix of primary and secondary can really elevate your folio. And then I did my observational drawings in black and white, rendered with grey lead pencil. And then it is really encouraged to do a survey. So everyone in our Viscom class did a survey, presented it to the class and got feedback from it. These are my ugliest pages and I really wish I could redo them, but at the end of the day it doesn't have to look so pretty. Over the holidays I collected a few like paint samples from Bunnings, which you can easily get for free, and just added that in. And I analysed a bit on typography and did my own watercolour drawings, I guess. Lots of developmental and generation. I did headings to make it clear. Experimented with a little bit of Copic markers and then some digital. And then we did our pitch to the class, and it's a bit more like survey responses. And this really helped me and guided me for the rest of my folio. A little bit of calligraphy mixed with our digital to see the layout, adding colour, and then onto the presentation drawings. So that's my style guide, and I made a digital copy where you can scan it. This is not the final one. The final one was bounded together, but this was a little style booklet that the client could have. And it's just like mock-ups of the logo, on the cans, the labels, and identity. And we printed out A2 posters, so this is not the final one, but it really looked nice on the glossy posters. So that was my first communication design need in the first folio. On to the next one. This was my industrial type of thing, but also entwining a bit of the communication need for the packaging of my brand. So again, I used mixed media using primary research and did lots of thorough annotations and sketches. These were so hard to cut out. Like, I had a can of drink and I cut out the metal just to put it in my folio. Did a little bit of like shape sketching for the shape. These pages, I remember I did at the beginning of school and they took like an hour each for each annotation. It took so long, but I think it's really worth it at the end of the day. So lots of secondary research. My company was a drink brand, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Again, a lot of observational sketching. And then my visualizations. I did a page on types of materials. In the study design, you really have to follow it. It stated that the student must know different types of methods and materials, therefore I played with a lot throughout my folio. And development. So with Viscom, I think you just have to follow the study design, and you have to think you have to go over and beyond to get high. You have to look at the study design and just follow it to a T. And I know it's such a pain to do Viscom and all SAT or folio subjects because it's not worth the effort you put into each and every page. But at the end of the day, it is quite worth it. So this was going on to my presentation for this project. I made a mock-up in real life using cardboard and acetate. So I took photos of them and documented them. Packaging nets, lots of annotations throughout. This again was my mock-up. And this was like my final thing I did. So I used I glued in a little bit of the material that I used that I had excess over. And then the presentation drawing, if I remove that, you'll see the packaging net. Mock-ups with the brand label and drink can, as well as a final 3D model. I don't have the model with me, but that's what it looks like.